And I'm pleased this week to be joined by the councilman of the First Ward, Councilman Manny Grova. Councilman, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, welcome back. A few things going on in your ward. It's never a slow ward. It's one of the most active in the city. So tell us about a few things in general that's going on, and then maybe we can get into a little more specifics.
Well, what's most dear to my heart is that we were able to finally complete the renovation of the soccer fields and football fields down on the waterfront. I understand we're going to be cutting a ribbon on that later in the month of March, and that's going to be great. We're going to put out there a state-of-the-art facility for not only the kids from Elizabeth, but those that come and visit will get an experience. We've also had
let's stay on that subject if you can, because you were a big proponent of that, and you as the councilman were constantly meeting with the recreation director. You and I had conversations about it. The field was constantly beat up with grass because of the amount of play.
Right.
And you know, in the beginning when turf first came out, there was always an issue about lead in the turf and hazardous, and then there were reports done. But do we wait the right amount of time? I mean, it's just by looking at the fields now, it's going to last a long time, and they get a lot more play. Maybe you're a father of a soccer, and you like soccer too.
Yeah,
so
I'm a coach too.
Tell us a little bit about how not only the role of the councilman as being an advocate, but the role of a father, and as well as your role as someone who enjoyed playing soccer.
Yeah, I played in high school.
I don't know if you could play at the same level you play.
No. I played in high school at St. Pat's, and obviously St. Pat's was never known for a soccer school, so just to tell you how good I was. But I do have my coach's license, and I coach my son's team, and my other son, who's younger, is also playing in the same soccer club, which is the Elizabeth Youth Soccer Club, and we have over 230 kids in that club at different age levels. But being a coach, and now I'm starting my 6th year as a coach of his team. We go out and we travel, so we play in other towns. And it's nice to be on a real nice facility. The kids enjoy it. There's no, holes in the grass or missing sections of grass. No dirt, and the turf has come a long way, like you said. I mean, way back when we built those fields back in the late 90s, turf was very dangerous. And so when you have a public park, it's not very nice to have a dangerous facility. So now the turf has come a long way, and I'm hoping that this facility is going to be great.
Now, Councilman, it's also going to be home to Pee Wee football, or the Packers.
Yes, the Elizabeth Packers will have one of the fields is a combination football field and soccer field.
And tell us about the Packers. I mean, Carlos Torres, the guy who heads it, has built an organization from really scratch.
Yeah, the Packers started about 2-3 years ago. It used to be the Elizabeth Giants, and then he took over, and they renamed it, and they started on a new direction. And Elizabeth Packers is a great organization also. They concentrate more on football, Pee Wee football. And now they're starting to get involved in some basketball tournaments. And he was joking with me the other day. He says, we're going to start soccer too. I says, leave that to the Elizabeth Youth Soccer Club. But it's great because he's a great guy, and we work closely together. When we have our soccer practice and they have their football practice, we share the fields. So there's never an animosity. And I think he's doing a great job. I mean, they also have about 200 kids. And you know what? My theory, and I really hope that we can push this a lot more, is that as long as kids at that age group are involved in positive, constructed, organized sports, stays away from the computers and the video games and the being on the streets, I think we're better off.
Yeah, I agree with you, Councilman. And the football-soccer combination is going to really kick in this year and afford those kids that opportunity. And when you were playing, you didn't get to play on fields like this.
No, they didn't have that stuff back then. We were playing on Brophy Field, and half of the field was in the infield of the baseball. So you had the sand, mud, or clay, or whatever it was. It's a little different.
Now, the shoes that the kids wear, they wear spikes or they wear rubber? What do they wear?
Spikes are not allowed anymore.
Were there metal spikes in soccer years ago?
No, they were not metal. They were like a wooden stubs. Okay, they've come a long way. All the equipment has come a long way. But when you're playing on a turf field, you could go with less of a deep spike. gives you a little more ability to move the ball, and you don't have to get stuck in the grass.
Now, tell us about some of the other issues going on in the first ward. I mean, that's clearly the marquee issue this year, but there's also other issues.
Oh yeah, we had a great opportunity this year to build a brand new senior building down on First Street, which has your name. And I'll tell you what, that is a facility coupled with the other senior Heritage Village senior facility that we have. It's great because you have a lot of the seniors that grew up and lived down the Port area of Elizabeth who enjoy being there. And this way they have a place where they can now live amongst their peers in a quiet environment, and they're not leaving the neighborhood.
You know, Councilman, it's been a long time, but you were there in the very beginning when Pioneer Homes McGlory Manor was seeing some of the end days of its lifespan. I mean, those buildings were built in the 40s and 50s, and you know, I always tell the story that you were the one who asked, why can't a city like Elizabeth go after Hope 6 money? And they changed the rules, and we were one of the first people to go there with your support. You've watched the transformation occur. This building you just spoke about may be the end of the transformation, but what goes on for a long time is because of a vision that you had many years ago.
Yeah, I grew up, as you know, I was born and raised on Magnolia Avenue, growing up right across from the Pioneer Homes. And we had a lot of good folks living down there. We still do. And unfortunately, the criminal element invaded that complex. And the building's starting to get dilapidated. And I think the Hope 6 program was a great program that was put out by then President Clinton. And we were successful. We were able to apply for it, as you mentioned, and we got it. And we've been able to change lives by doing it. Because now families have a front door. They have a backyard. They're not piled up on top of each other, that dense population that comes from these housing developments. And it just gives a different sense of pride to folks who are now living downtown. And it's just a nicer atmosphere. And
you're big on providing a customer service to residents. Tell us about this customer service concept.
Well, one thing is, as an attorney by profession, my law firm and I chose to open up an office right in our neighborhood. So even though it's not part of the city council, it's my legal practice and my private career, but it gives an opportunity for residents who ever have concerns to just stop by the office and they come and see me. In addition to that, we have our community meetings every month, and we have 2 meetings a month, and we split up the ward into 2 sections. And everyone in the ward gets my postcard, which announces the dates of the meetings. And on the postcard has my home phone number, my cell number, and my office number. So it's the most accessible person, I think, is doing that. And as a result, I get a lot of phone calls. I try to deal with people's concerns as quickly as we possibly can. And they all know that they can call Manny Grova if there's a problem.
Now, and that's a really good point. So do residents respond and they reach out to you knowing this happens? And when they do, how quick are you getting back to them, and not only initially, but even with the solution to the problem?
Well, what I try to do with the phone calls is I try to answer my phone as quickly as I possibly can. Unless I'm in a meeting, then I try to call a person back. And usually within the next day or two, 3 days the most, I try to get back to the person with the response, or we address it if it's a police issue or something that needs an immediate attention. I hang up the phone with them, and I immediately call the police or whatever other department needs to address it.
So what's the best part about being councilman?
I enjoy the fact that you can help people. Okay, I started out on my career as a councilman, and then I led that into the career as an attorney. And the fact that growing up, I just like helping people. And if I can make somebody's problem go away, that gives me the most joy. And the second thing that I enjoy about being a councilman is trying to help kids. I have 3 of my own that my wife and I raise, and they're doing well. And I like to help kids be able to express themselves. And anything to do with sports, you know, I'm been supportive of all the little leagues in Elizabeth, in baseball, and we run a basketball tournament every year. And anything that we can do so that kids get entertained and occupied would be great.
Now, since you brought up your kids, as we go into the break, you're a big Giant fan. Your daughter's a big New England fan. What was it like in your house on the day of the Super Bowl?
It was fun. The last time they played against each other 4 years ago, she was much younger and she cried at the end because her two brothers were picking on her. But this year it was a little less dramatic. We both went into the game kind of nervous because both teams were pretty evenly matched as a result. You could see from the results of the game. But she took it on, and she said her response is that New England gave us the game. We didn't win it, so I'll let her think that way.
We're going to stay, do some commercials and come right back. So please stay with us where I'll be joined by the Councilman of the First Ward, Manny Grova. After these messages, we'll be back with more about the First Ward. Welcome back to our city where I'm joined by the Councilman from the First Ward, Councilman Manny Grova. Councilman, recently, earlier in January, you spoke with the Portuguese press and other folks in the First Ward and throughout the city, and you've indicated your bid for Councilman at Large in our city in the June primary. Your efforts to revitalize brought many improvements to the First Ward. How do you translate that vision and that success in the First Ward to the entire city?
Well, obviously, over the years that I've been on council representing the First Ward, we've come a long way. I mean, we took a very older part of the city that was dirty, had a lot of crime, and we've worked hard with the residents to improve that. We were able to get a lot of new housing built. We spoke about the Hope 6 brought in a big influx of new housing. We got new senior housing. I'm hoping that I could take some of that experience and bring it citywide. The community meetings, I think, are very important. I know there are some members of council that do have their community meetings every month also with the residents. I want to participate in a lot of them citywide. Having the knowledge that I do, being one of the senior members on council, the contacts that I've formed over the years with different organizations, different agencies, I think can bring a lot of positive involvement and positive progress to the rest of the city.
You've demonstrated your strong work ethic, as you just spoke about, and supporting the Go Green initiatives throughout our city within the neighborhoods. Maybe you can talk to us about some of the future goals and how you can contribute that quality not only in the First Ward but throughout the city by stepping up to be council at large.
Well, obviously we need to try to provide the businesses and especially the bigger companies with more opportunities to get the solar panel program off the ground. I know the state had some monies out there. Hopefully we can lobby the state to put some more of that money back into place to help these businesses. But from a regular resident standpoint, I think that we need to try to encourage people to recycle. Not only the big businesses, but actually each home. And if everyone could recycle, they can not only help the environment for the future of our kids and future generations, but it also takes direct cost savings on our taxes. As you know, garbage is very expensive to get rid of, and if we could reduce the amount of garbage that the companies cart away from in front of our houses, then that's less money we have to spend. And that recycled cardboard and recycled glass and plastic bottles and cans all generate money back to us. So it works both ways, and I think that we spoke about this once before, and I think it's something that we really, if we can focus on getting the residents to start complying, and hopefully our city can progress and be more greener going forward.
You know, earlier this year, Councilman, and you were there, we hired 18 new police officers. We promoted some officers. You talked about earlier about staying in touch with the community and calling the police. Maybe you can talk with us and the residents that you work with the police department and how you assist the residents through these neighborhood meetings that you were just speaking about in increasing access to public safety services. Well,
we have the benefit of having one of the officers, Vito Tropiano, who comes to our meetings every month. And he's very open to the public and gives everybody their cell phone number, and everyone has my cell phone number. And what we try to do at these meetings is gather information. There's a lot of residents who may see something wrong going on their block, but they're hesitant to call the police because they don't want themselves identified. When they come to the meetings, I have them meet with the detectives or police officers privately. And any information they give is just between them. And this way, it avoids that fear.
That's probably important. I'm going to stop you on that point because sometimes folks don't want to talk to the police and leave their name. And if you can arrange confidential meetings for issues that may be going on, do you think the resident feels a better level of comfort?
Oh, absolutely. It's been working for us. We've been having our community meetings now for at least 6-7 years. And
where are your community meetings?
I have first Wednesday of the month we meet at the All-Star Lounge, which is on 3rd and South Park Street at 6:30, and then on the second Thursday of the month we meet at the Peterstown Center, and that covers the other half of the ward also at 6:30, the second Thursdays of the month, and it's just a great opportunity for people to express themselves. Sometimes they don't want to make phone calls. The other good thing about these community meetings, they get to meet their neighbors. All right, so now walking down the street, hey Joe, hey John, they know each other because they've been together at a meetings on a concerted effort on the team to improve the neighborhood, and I think that opens up a whole new level of how to deal with society and knowing your neighbors, so to speak.
And Councilman, one of the things that happened, I understand that you're calling for a resolution in order to work with the Catholic Church to figure out a way to keep St. Patrick's open, that you are going to move that on City Council. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Well, St. Patrick's is dear to me because that's where I went to school.
Right.
I went there for grammar school, high school. My sister graduated high school there. I'm part of their Hall of Fame. I got inducted with Shaheen Holloway in that year. And it's a great environment to learn, and I would just hope that all of the alumni who've come out of St. Patrick's, who've been successful in life, myself included, can open up their checkbook and write a check. And we have professional basketball players that are still in the league. We have professional football players that have come out of St. Pat's, and baseball players. I'm hoping these guys who are making the millions can just cut a check to keep the doors open. And secondly, I think the Archdiocese has to be a little more focused. I just wish that the Archdiocese of Newark, and I guess the Archdiocese in general, could direct more of their funds, the annual appeal that the Archbishop does, towards Catholic education. And that money would help keep the school open. And we have in Elizabeth at one point we had 8 or 10 Catholic grammar schools, I think.
I think it was back up to 14 at one
Right.
point.
And they're just going
Now we're
by the
down to
wayside.
one, yeah.
Going by the wayside. And I thought it was a great learning environment when I was going to there. And
My sister went to St. Pat's.
you didn't have to
Talk
be.
to the folks at St. Pat's, they always say she was the smarter one because I went to St. Mary's, but she went to St. Pat's.
But you didn't have to be Catholic to go to St. Pat's. I had a lot of kids in my class that weren't Catholic, but it was a way of with rules and uniforms and great environment to learn, and teachers cared about how you were taught, and I just think the Archdiocese.
And the principal was Joe Picaro when you went there as well, right?
He was the dean. He was the dean.
He was the dean?
Sister Dorothy was the principal back then. But St. Pat's has always been a great school. It's one of the one of two, I guess, Catholic high schools in Elizabeth.
3, actually. You got the girls' school, Benedict
Yes,
Academy.
yes, you're right,
Here,
Benedict
you're
Academy.
thinking of St. Mary's, I
Right.
know.
And I just hope the Archdiocese refocuses some of their energies in keeping.
Hopefully it can become a little more flexible.
Yeah.
Councilman, we've talked about partnerships and community organizations, and you probably more than anybody really get involved in your ward and throughout the city on working those partnerships. Maybe you can tell us a little about your work with these organizations and how do you get them involved not only in the issues of the first ward, but in the issues citywide.
Well, we're blessed in Elizabeth because there's so many organizations that do so much work, and as a government official, we want these organizations to do their thing because they're helping our residents. For example, I'm a member of a Lions Club, and we run every Thanksgiving we run a luncheon. They've been doing it for 20 some years. It provides a service to the residents who need that service. And so you got to support them. You have organizations such as Brand New Day who's out there on the forefront building low-income housing. That service is needed, and so we have to support them. And this way, the city doesn't have to be in the middle of it all. Okay. We talked about earlier about the kids programs, the little leagues, the soccer program, the Elizabeth Packers who do the football. These are organizations that are out there, and they provide a service to our residents. The city doesn't have to do it. We could support them, and we should, financially if we can, but that service is there, and I think as many more organizations that are out there that are willing to provide a service to our residents, we should support them.
You have one of the premier organizations in your ward called Brand New Day that works on this foreclosure issue, and they've done a great job in advising people. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that organization, because they also do affordable housing as well.
Correct. Brand New Day is the agency that does a lot of affordable housing down by me. They started doing this back in the 80s, way before anybody else thought about it. And Krishna Garlick is the executive director. She's doing a great job there. And they see a need, and they saw the need, which we all have seen, which is the onslaught of foreclosures. And what they've been able to do is put together a program where they actually got recognized, I think, statewide and by the federal government, where they're putting together a program which is helping folks try to save their homes and not lose their homes to the foreclosure. And they're doing a great job. I haven't had a chance to see the recent numbers, but I know that they've had a lot of success over the years. And that's one of those organizations I was talking about.
Now, Jersey Gardens is also located in the First Ward, and I know we worked together on that in the 1990s. I don't know if you were out there during the holiday season, but they had more visitors than ever.
Yeah, Jersey Gardens was a godsend. As you know, Elizabethport was always big for industry. We had the Singer Building, we had Thomas and Betts, and unfortunately, as the rest of this country is gone, the industry is gone. And so we're into a service organization, and service companies. And so the Jersey Gardens Mall was able to at least fill some of the hole that we lost in terms of jobs. And it's so successful. IKEA, the motels that are there, the restaurants, IHOP is out in that area. All of those different businesses have been able to bring jobs to the city that were left empty when Singers and these other companies left. And I just keep telling people, go shop Jersey Gardens Mall, because it keeps everybody happy.
We got the Super Bowl coming here in 2 years, and those hotels are all going to be filled, and we're working with the Chamber of Commerce and the mall. You want the Giants in that Super Bowl in 2 years?
I hope so.
Yeah, the only problem with that is we won't get anybody to stay in hotels. Councilman, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show this evening. I wish you well in your bid for Councilman at Large, and look forward to working with you on that and many other things that benefit our city.
Thank you, Mayor.
For Councilman Manny Grova, I'm Chris Bolwage, and we'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.